Global. It's Miss Newcastle. This week we're going to talk about public display of affection, or PDA. It seems to be the hot topic. So Student Council was interested in having a little bit more information about what's appropriate and what's not appropriate for the school setting. So we have Mr. Lynch and some of the Student Council members to explain more.
So what is PDA? Like, what is considered PDA?
Well, what is PDA? PDA is a public display of affection. So what's considered PDA? Anything that's a public display of affection. It's kind of like saying, what's a fish? Is a fish a fish? Well, a fish is a fish. So any display of public affection is PDA. So the question is, what would be considered legitimate PDA? What would be acceptable in a school? If your dad came back from Iraq and he walked down the hall and you run down the hall and give him a big hug, that's acceptable. If you run into somebody you haven't seen in a long time, that's acceptable. If you've got a boyfriend or girlfriend that you are real tight with and you've got to hold hands down the hall every single day, you've got to give each other a hug before you go to class, or you try to kiss each other, that's unacceptable PDA.
So the next question we have is all hand holding unacceptable, against the rule of PDA?
Okay, is all hand holding unacceptable? Well, if you're walking down the hall with your baby sister and she's 5 years old or 10 years old, and that's acceptable. If you have to walk down the hall holding hands with your girlfriend every day between classes and you're constantly doing that, that's unacceptable. That's what makes other people uncomfortable, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
So what is the rule on PDA?
Well, officially within the district, we don't have a particular rule. That's left up to the principals to enforce on their own campus as it becomes a problem. And so, obviously the fact that we're discussing that, it has become a problem on our campus. And so to address that, we're just not, participating in PDA. It's gotten to a point where it's gotten too uncomfortable, and, people are coming and talking about it and complaining, and so that's where it goes.
And the final question we have is, what are the consequences of breaking the rule?
Well, because PDA is not in the handbook, PDA is not necessarily a rule. So if you were to get, a referral for PDA, what you're really getting is a referral for non-compliance. So it's insubordination, because you've been asked not to do it and now you're insisting on doing it. So it's not the act, it's the insubordination of not complying with the request.
Thank you. That's all our questions.
All right, you bet.
One.
So on the announcements, you mentioned how PDA can make people feel uncomfortable. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, PDA can make people feel uncomfortable in a lot of different ways. Some people, would feel lonely because they don't have a partner who, for that kind of, attention. Other people feel like, some people are too young to be doing that. It interrupts with other people, because they have to deal with going around someone who's, holding hands or smooching or whatever in the hall. And it's different levels for a lot of different people. But, the point is it's uncomfortable. So whether, it's public displays of affection, somebody touching you, I'm not a real touchy-feely person. So people who come up and hug me make me feel uncomfortable. People who put their hands on me make me feel uncomfortable. And they haven't done anything wrong necessarily, but I don't like it because I'm not like that. And a lot of people have the same kind of a problem with PDA. And so that's why it's uncomfortable.